Zealand.
New Zealand. Taika
Up on
Waititi-land.
the dick. Get up on my dick.
What?
I'm trying to do a New Zealand accent. I was I telling you this? I just get lost in these stupid Reddit rabbit holes where somebody goes, "What's the thing that Americans don't do well?" And then somebody was like, "Tell accents like Australian, British, New Zealand, like tell the difference between them." And then people were like all commenting like, "Oh yeah, if they sound like everything's like a short I sound, they're from New Zealand, like fish and chips." I don't know. It was like just different ways you can tell. Oh, these are the things that my mind finds very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, it reminds me, I forgot to tell you in the pre-show. I started watching Outlander.
Oh my god. Converted. Wait, isn't this still the pre-show?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, I just started recording already.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, that's
I can't remember what episode I'm in, but I'm like almost halfway through the first season.
Wow, nice. Yeah. I keep bugging my friend Caitlin, or I did when she started reading the books, because then I'd be like, "Where you at? What's going on?"
Yeah.
As we talked on the way home. Yeah. Oh my god, that's exciting.
Yeah, I do have to say though, I normally don't mind voiceover, but sometimes Claire like just annoys me.
There is quite a bit of voiceover, I guess, isn't there?
And it's about 30 times like an episode. She's like, "And I just have to do this to find my way home back to the 20th century." And I'm like, "Okay, we get it." Like,
I feel like it gets a lot less. I feel
hope.
like it does cool off a bit. Yeah,
like,
because when you mention it, I'm like, yeah.
There's a
I
lot.
can hear her.
It's like
It's
every
like
10
Sex
minutes.
in the City. Yeah, Carrie fucking narrates everything.
Ooh.
I started the new season of that.
I never watched any of it, but
Oh, right.
I am enjoying Outlander so far.
Yes.
Even though I'm not
and
a
you're
big,
a pure show watcher. You haven't read any of the books.
Yeah,
so
and I'm not a huge like history buff kind of person, and I'm not a huge like more like drama kind of orientated show watcher. I normally yeah I like
Me
my
neither,
sci-fi.
usually.
I like my like supernaturally kind of stuff, and this has a bit of that, but not too like other than the time travel. Right now, it's not like heavy-handed in like anything more than like drama.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you won't find my Netflix covered with historical dramas like Kenyans.
Yeah.
But once you do watch one, then it'll start suggesting Bridgerton and everything.
Yeah, I am never watching that. But
I'm like, I don't get what it's about other than the time period. But okay.
I do have to say I don't understand why she's trying to go back to her husband. Because I'm pretty sure with everything that's happened with the other, like his, I guess, ancestor, I'm pretty sure I'd have fucking PTSD just looking at his goddamn face.
Right?
I wouldn't want to go back
exactly
to the future
alike.
and be married to that, so I'm sorry.
Yeah. You just flinch when he looks at you. He's like, what?
And you're like, "Sorry, your great-great-grandfather tried to assault me, like, multiple times. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, that guy you wanted to know so much about. Yeah, he really is a dick. I have the proof.
Yeah, oh my god. I'm just like, yeah, I'm pretty sure other than, like, indoor plumbing and stuff, like, I wouldn't be so, like, trying to go back to be with him, you know? Yeah.
No, and especially once you start seeing how their relationship is together, her and Jamie just seem so much more compatible.
Yeah, they're pretty cute. They basically just got married. Spoilers.
Oh. Oh my god. I gotta stop because we're gonna talk about it all night, and then I'm gonna be done Fringe in fucking 2 seconds because I'm already on season 5 and it looks really fucking short.
Yeah, season 5 is like half the length.
Damn.
Because they kept almost getting canceled, and they literally got canceled at the end of season 4, and J.J. Abrams, like, begged Fox and was like, "Okay, from like episode 1, we knew how the series was gonna end. You need to just let us finish it. And then they said, okay, but you have half as many episodes. And they went, what? And they're like, yeah, do it in half as many and we'll give it to you.
Oh my god.
So they did it.
Okay, I was looking for the gag reel, and then I started watching some behind the scene things that alluded to that, but then I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Oh my god, okay.
Anyway, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. I don't know how much of that we'll keep in.
I don't know, it's only 5 minutes long so far, so.
Oh, okay.
It's not that bad.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, you're listening to Castles and Cryptids and TV Review.
Yeah.
And we had a part in our, I think it was a Patreon one, the Yule Lads, where I kind of yammered on about the Fringe for like what ended up being like 5 minutes. So I eventually cut most of it out because I was like, okay, here's the train. Here's me over here derailed.
I did that with what was our last episode?
Before Medical Marvels? Or
no, the Medical Mysteries. When I was editing it, I think I cut some stuff out because we went on like one movie tangent that like merged into another movie tangent that merged into something else.
Oh, we did?
And then it was like close to 10 minutes of like and then it was like, nah, I'm just gonna cut out like 90% of this.
Uh-oh.
It was
We're gonna piss the people off. They're gonna be like, give us what we want.
No, we were just confusingly like Googling stuff.
Oh, okay. That's probably stuff I assumed would be cut out then.
Yeah, just like talking, being like,
oh, that is annoying when you can't think of the name of an actor or something, though.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of movie tangents, we watched the new Ghostbusters.
Oh,
we watched the new Ghostbusters.
I haven't seen it yet. I love Paul Rudd.
I was convinced for most of the movie that the main lady, and I wasn't going to tell you this because it's embarrassing. I was convinced it was the same lady that is in The Fringe, and it wasn't.
Oh, Anna Torv?
Yeah, it wasn't her. It was somebody that had a similar voice and was also blonde, and I was like, well, she looks a lot older, but then again, I was just watching something that was filmed 10 years ago, so maybe?
Yeah.
But it wasn't. Yes, and Paul Rudd. Oh my god, he was so beardy in it. He was... His character had a...
And now he's sexiest man alive. Beard. Go, Paul Rudd.
And now he is. He always was.
Oh, I love Paul Rudd.
He does get better with age, though. People say he doesn't change, but he does slightly, and it's only for the better.
Yeah. You rewatch, like, Clueless, and you're like, nah, he looks so little and young.
Oh, yeah, that is old now.
Yeah.
Older. But, yeah, he was funny in this. He got to be funny.
That's good.
Kind of like
excited.
A dad-like character, dad joke. You know,
perfect.
He's always got his quips and stuff, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, you guys wanted to hear about Ghostbusters, I thought. New Zealand crimes with a side of whatever movies we've seen today, and we already spent 10 minutes talking about Spider-Man, so that's out of the way. We got that out of the way for you.
Yeah, in the pre-show.
I have seen it now, guys, so I don't have to avoid Marvel media, social media anymore. I was talking to Taylor about, I was like, oh, remember when you couldn't see Infinity War? She was like away on a trip or something on a fam, like a travel agent trip. When it came out, and you know, that's such a big one, and then spoilers, and so she's like, I was like, it was that one, right? Not Endgame. And she was like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, I just had to delete my socials for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that was a big spoiler one.
Oh, yeah. If you like just found out on social media, it's like, oh yeah, and then Tony Stark died, you'd be like, whoa.
Yeah. That would be crazy.
But anyway. And now for some Spider-Man 2 spoilers. No, I'm just kidding. Not 2. Spider-Man 2. Jesus Christ. I'm fired.
Spider-Man Tom Holland -3.
I was mixing up Tom Holland with Tom Hardy.
Oh,
There's too many Tom H's in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
there's literally also Tom Hiddleston. So, anyway. But I maintain that I think Tom Holland still is my favorite Spider-Man, and I don't know if that's because I like the Marvel movies more, so maybe I'm just a little tainted by that, but love me some Tom Holland. And you like Garfield, right? Because I think Pat said he was his favorite.
No,
Spider-Man.
mine's Tobey Maguire.
Oh my gosh, we have a whole plethora of opinions on this.
Mine's Tobey Maguire because he was a little bit older. I don't like that he's like 14 or whatever when it starts.
Right.
And then,
he's like 50 now, or almost.
Yeah.
He's gotta be. I loved when he got, well, he was like old Spider-Man, basically, in that movie. He was like stretching his back.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, I like it that, like, the character in it was, like, finishing high school and he was a little bit older, and then he actually has, like, the Spider-Man powers out of the three of them, you know? Yeah.
That's true.
And that was, like, my first, like, the Tobey Maguire one came out when I was 7. I tell people at work, because a lot of them were just being born. When Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man, and I had seen it, so I'm just like, yeah, no, he's my Spider-Man, because I was 7 when that came out, and you guys weren't even born yet.
That's true. Like, when I watched it with Rain, I'm like, I don't think you get all the references, because she hasn't seen the old ones.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. So, yeah, I was like, okay, you don't exactly quite understand all the references, but that's okay.
Yeah.
No, they were all good in their own right. But anyway, there are podcasts on Marvel movies versus Sony and all the other politics of that crap. Ugh. But so I will try not to diverge into that anymore.
But yeah, for New Zealand, we're doing some New Zealand crimes, our first international true crime episode of 2022.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We hope you like it.
Yeah.
Our last episode's already got quite a few plays, so that was nice.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
They did miss us. They really missed us.
Yeah.
No.
I was gonna say, don't forget to, we mentioned last week too, on Spotify, you can leave us, stars?
Yeah, a rating.
Yeah, a rating, that's the word. You can leave us a rating, and then on Good Pods, you can still...
5 Michelin stars. Sorry.
You can still review and then rate us and subscribe.
Oh, that is a good segue, because I literally was just giving my brother shit on Good Pods, because I think he by accident gave us a less than 5-star review.
Oh, no.
It broke our perfect 5.0 rating. And I was like, I went, the fuck, bro? You just literally texted me that you liked this episode, because you gave us 2 stars. Danielle, I know you're listening to this now in the future.
Now in the future.
Hopefully by now you've corrected it.
Back to the future, now in the future.
I know. Funny. I don't know why everybody always has to mention that on podcasts. Like, we don't know they're recorded a few days in the past.
Yeah, this isn't live. Sorry about it.
What? Pull back the curtain. It's all ruined.
Yeah. Anyway.
No. And we're not on video yet, but...
No.
We're
figuring it out.
We are, yes. Yeah, we have a couple video mini-sodes out on Patreon, so that's true. We do have those. Mm-hmm. You want to see the shenanigans happen in front of your face. Oh my god.
Anyway,
all right.
I vote for this one. You go first, because I went first the last couple.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. It's crime, so it's kind of a bummer. Go figure. I mean, can't do funny crimes every time. But
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I do think that people enjoyed the Florida Man episode, so I do enjoy doing those ones too.
Yeah. We'll bring in a funny one soon enough.
Oh, heck yeah. Crimes of Passion. That's sure to be funny. Just kidding.
Spoiler on our February Valentine's Day.
Just a little tease, just to wet your whistle that we want to do some Crimes of Passion.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, so doing New Zealand crimes. You know, we like to do some countries around the world, definitely, usually where we've have some listeners, and thank you to all who have listened in New Zealand and around the world. Oh, yes. Also, we got a new country in the last couple days. It's Malaysia.
Malaysia. Wow.
Yeah. That's cool. We just talked about a cryptid from there on our Patreon mini-sode. The Abong Aku, I think it was. He was that weird guy that was waiting for a perfect person at that tower thingy.
Oh, yeah. Unrealistic.
Like a lot of girls and their expectations for only men above 6 feet apply, please, and all those other random Tinder requests.
Yeah.
Specific. Okay, so this one, it got my attention because it kind of has a catchy or flashy name to it that caught my eye.
Ooh.
It's been called the Pamper Party Murder. Have you heard of it?
Pamper Party. I think I ran across the name, the Pamper Party when I was looking for my case, but I don't remember anything about it. I never, clicked in to read a bunch about it or anything.
Ooh, yay. Yeah, because I hadn't heard of it before researching either. So, yeah, you should be fresh like I was.
Perfect.
So, my intro. We all know how much we need a day spent with good friends and good food sometimes. A chance to sit back, relax, and shoot the shit with people you love. But what happens when a group of women get together to have a fun day filled with self-care and drinks, and one woman makes a deadly decision that will last a lifetime?
Just sounds like, what's that one movie? Scarlett Johansson was in it, and it was about the bachelorette party that they accidentally murder the male stripper or something.
Oh!
Yeah,
I don't know if I've seen it.
It's probably 5 years old now. It's a few years old.
Johansson.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good.
It was
like,
alright.
Oopsies. Now we gotta deal with this shit. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to Google it.
Yeah.
I like ScarJo though. She's good.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Okay, so this one takes place in West Auckland, New Zealand, this case. And that's on the North Island. I've always thought that the island of New Zealand somewhat resembles the island of Nova Scotia. And I've always thought the island of Nova Scotia sort of looks like it could be a floating lady with a bonnet on.
Oh, I've never looked that closely at geography. Let me consult the map above me.
Some people have said it looks like a lobster, but I think that's reaching because it's a maritime province. I think it kind of looks like a lady in profile, she has a billowing sleeve. Whatever, it's not important, but I do think it's interesting. Maybe certain islands, when you're up against a big vast ocean, you probably just get that crescent shaped coastline from all the waves battering against you all your life.
All the inlets.
Exactly. Damn that ocean though.
Damn.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know, we don't have anything that we call pamper parties here per se, but it sounds like I would imagine, getting together with your friends and kind of just treat yourself.
Slumber party.
Yeah. I enjoy, we like to get together and get movies, and that's usually what it ends up being, no matter what the heck we intended to do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're going to talk about this close-knit group of friends, including some relatives within the group, some sisters and cousins, that hadn't seen each other in a while, and they wanted to have a little get-together. So one of the ladies, her name was Emmanuel Sinclair, organized a get-together and hosted it at her place. And she even hired they called it a beautician, so an esthetician, we maybe would call it here.
Probably.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Tend to use that word more than beautician, but yeah, to do their nails and stuff like that. So one of the girls said, "We're a family, we love each other, we're sisters, here to get our nails and eyelashes done." That was a quote from Corinne Phillip, called Little Corinne, because there were two Corinnes in the group, so they had a little Corinne and a big Corinne. I'm like, adorable.
Yeah.
That can happen. I mean, at a certain age group, like around my age, girls in their 30s, you'll get a lot of Ashleys and Jessicas.
Yeah. My brother's friends, when he was in middle school, there was one that was Big Brian and Little Brian. Because Brian's...
Was Big Brian the big one? Because sometimes they'll reverse it.
I can't remember, honestly. I think it might have been reversed. Like, just for...
Strike that, flip it, and reverse it. Yeah, just to screw with people.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Which is like when you have three Spider-Mans together. Peter? Which Peter? Okay.
Peter Pumpkin Eater?
I've had people just call me Peters. You just get called by your last name like you're in a football team. I don't mind it. It's alright.
When I was in high school, my one teacher, it was like an options class, and he referred to me as Mr. Anderson from The Matrix.
You told me that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And he'd go, and during like attendance, he'd be like, Mr. Anderson. And then he'd just go back to like doing everybody else's name normally.
What a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember if you said that on here or not on the episode. But what is an options class? It's like one of the optional ones, like an elective, or...
Yeah, it was like, when you weren't doing gym, you were doing health class or this other class that was kind of like a computer sciences kind of thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think we had something similar too, yeah, where you're in one of those. It's not normal math and English and whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So they're a family, they're a little tight-knit group, and they gathered at Emmanuel's house on October 15th, 2016. The house was located on School Road in Te Atatu South, and I thought this was kind of interesting. It's just down the street from Edmonton Primary School. So,
yeah.
We live in Edmonton City. This was down the street from Edmonton Primary School.
I like that did you say the street was named? What was the street name?
School Road.
School Road.
To the point.
Yeah. This road has a school on it. We'll call it School Road.
And also, we're so lazy with names that everything in the Commonwealth countries comes from England names. Yeah. I ended up looking it up, and I was like, oh, Edmonton is named after Edmonton, England, so probably this one is named after Edmonton, England too.
Boring. Ugh.
It is kind of boring. And what does Edmonton mean? It meant like Ed Helms County or something. I was like, what? Ed Helms? Okay. Or farms or something. Anyway, it wasn't a very interesting meaning other than it resembled Ed Helms' name.
Yeah. I was like, oh, Ed Helms.
I know, right? I think it was like Ed Helms. Anyway, nobody cares about this. So, all right, back to the main event here. So, we have to have some fun before the sad.
Before the sad.
Before the sad. I'm gonna hit you with the sad. So, they had some snacks laid out, including fresh guacamole that Emmanuel had just made that morning. Mwah, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
And some corn chips. And there was around 8 or 9 guests total, so it was kind of a smallish, intimate affair. You know, I would assume more like a dinner party than a rager, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a day for self-care and gossip with some good friends. And there was Anna Brown, another attendee, and she was not a core member of the group. She only really knew Carly Stewart and a few of the others. And Carly was her cousin, and they actually called each other Cuzzy. So, it's kind of cute. But Anna Brown arrived with 2 of her sisters and 2 bottles of vodka and 1 bottle of Jim Beam. She
Holy.
came prepared.
Yeah, that's intense. 2 bottles of vodka for 8 people.
Right? If she's even going to share her 2 bottles of vodka and her bottle of bourbon.
Yeah. Like, how many mimosas are we talking here?
I know. It was during the day.
Yeah,
You're
that's
right.
intense.
So it's kind of weird. But, so that could be a factor in the events to come, definitely.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, God. It was a bit of a... They mentioned just in some of the articles that it was mostly non-white women there. I don't know why. I didn't know how to say that. I don't know why. Everything sounds really stupid if I'm talking about the races, but it's like not really important, but it comes up, I guess, so we had to mention it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was Justine Evans. She was the only white woman at the party. And sometimes in New Zealand, I guess that can be referred to as paheka, when you're like white or of European descent versus like Aboriginal, like
New Zealand.
Maori or whatever. Yeah. That's how you say it, right? Maori? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Okay. And so yeah, the others were like of Maori and Cook Islands descent mostly. And again, it's not super important except for some tension between Brown, who was Maori, and Evans, who was white. So, throughout this party, this is, quote, throughout the party, Brown became increasingly violent, eventually fighting with Sinclair and Stewart. As the day progressed, she became more abrasive and more aggressive to those around. She ended up fighting with the only 2 people she knew at the party, apart from her sisters. End quote. And that was from the prosecutor, Nick Webby. Yes, there's going to be a prosecutor. Of course there is. So, you guys knew it.
What?
What? This goes to court? Yeah, it's going to get rough. So, they were all still getting along for the most part, having a good day, planning another outing. Like they were talking about a cruise to White Island, I guess. White Island. But, so the Saturday afternoon, unfortunately, took a sharp turn when Anna Brown got trashed and started to pick a fight with Justine Evans. The host, Emmanuel Sinclair, attempted to separate the 2, taking Brown into a bedroom and out of the hallway they were fighting in. This was a temporary relief only, however, when Brown left the room and then was spouting off in the hallway, where more people tried to intervene, like attempting to separate them, including Anna Brown's cousin, Carly Stewart. Carly was heard saying, "How dare you? This is a family house. My nieces are here. Or children are here."
Yeah.
The reports varied. Something like that. Yeah. So she was like, obviously, like, calm the fuck down, basically.
Did we find out what they were arguing about so much? Or was it just, like, race-related, maybe?
We don't really find out. So that was kind of... That bugged me, too, when I read this case. And it's sometimes, like, you start to cover something and you're like, well, this actually doesn't have a lot of detail and information, but at the same
That's
time,
my
I'm
case.
Like, oh God.
Yeah.
But you're like, to me. I wanted to cover it. If it
Yeah.
stuck out to me, then I think I should, because it probably deserves to be told, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, so that's kind of annoying because you don't really hear too much about that.
I'm shocked
But
that, like, we don't know, considering there was so many other people there. Like, even the beautician or
yeah.
esthetician, like, she didn't spill the beans. She don't know these people. I'd be like, yeah, they were, like, bitching at each other in the hallway. Like,
I
I'm just trying to do
think
some nails and lashes here.
I know, I think that too. Like, you're like, well, there was a lot of people there. They probably heard some of it, but I
Yeah.
think in the end, it doesn't. Maybe there wasn't many details printed in the
Yeah.
articles from the other girls because it just didn't really matter in the end what it was about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
It's yeah. It doesn't become. It's not important to the case, I guess I'll say. So, um, the so yeah, now, yeah, first Anna Brown was fighting with Justine Evans. Now she's fighting more with Carly Stewart, who was trying to separate them. So those two grappled, hanging onto each other and spitting profanities. And Carly said several more statements, including, "How dare she? I'm not scared of her." So we do know she said that. But then she said words to the effect of, "I'm going to be the bigger person," and walk away. So
Fair
she
enough.
left the room. Yeah, went back to, like, it kept saying a lounge, but, like, I assume kind of a living room den type
Yeah.
of area. Yeah. Because they had been, like, in the kids' bedroom and then in a hallway, and now
Oh.
Carly left. Yeah. So Brown pursued after a moment, detouring to pick up a kitchen knife on her way into the lounge.
Oh my god.
Quote, I know. She took the biggest knife out of the butcher's block, or the biggest knife, sorry, out of the butcher's block, a knife which had been used earlier to make guacamole, end quote. She walked up to Carly Stewart with the knife. Anna Brown seemed eerily calm as she approached Carly in the lounge with the weapon concealed behind her back. She wasn't emotional, she wasn't yelling or crying. She appeared very quiet and trance-like, people said after. She then whispered Carly's name and then stabbed her in the side of the head.
The side of the head? That's
Yeah.
like not a lot of people would stab somebody with a knife in the head.
It takes a real hard turn there, right?
Yeah. Oh my god.
It just seems like, okay, who would expect it to go that way? Like,
Yeah, oh my god.
I wouldn't have been expecting that.
And whose house is this again?
Emmanuel Sinclair.
Why
She
isn't
was
she like
hosting.
kicking these people out?
Right? She did attempt to break it up. And so,
No. I'd be just
and then
punching people. Like, take this outside.
yeah, she probably wishes she did.
Jeez.
So another quote, she walked up to Carly Stewart with the knife hidden behind her back, and she plunged it into Carly Stewart's face just below her left ear with so much force it went deep inside Carly's head.
Aww.
It's
God.
so vicious.
Sounds
She didn't.
awful.
Oh, it's bad. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be going fast. I think I maybe am like just like I have to say it because it's so rough. You know what I mean? Like where you're just like rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, she didn't pause to see anything, offer any assistance, as the prosecution would later point out, but just picked up her purse and walked out of the party, apparently still staring at Carly. She walked away,
Oh my god.
and yeah, she like still had her blood on her shoes and clothing and stuff as she left the house.
It's like,
So-
okay, bye. I'm gonna see myself out.
Right? I don't even know what anybody would have been doing at that time. It must have been like pure chaos.
Yeah.
She was still conscious, so they were trying to help Carly, attempting to stop the bleeding and calling 911. Patricia, which was Carly Stewart's cousin, was speaking to the operator who told them was heard telling them, "It's going to be all right, Carly. Carly, you are strong." So Patricia repeatedly told the operator that Carly was losing a significant amount of blood, of course. But sadly, Carly was dead within 10 minutes of the stabbing.
Oh my god. I'm surprised she was alive for 10 more minutes.
I know. From the minute you hear stabbed in the head.
All I'm picturing is like a giant ass knife that's like fucking 9 inches long, and I'm like, oh, it's probably the length of like, it could go from one side of her head out the other side. I don't know.
Right, but then you think, I didn't understand like how it could penetrate so through the skull, but
yeah. But I guess under your ear, that's
yes,
so close to your jaw, I guess.
Right, that it's like a weak point.
Yeah.
It would seem like she would kind of knew what she was doing. When you think about that part, yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
So what had happened was that a vein in her neck had been completely severed when she was stabbed. And you're right about the length. It was about 11 centimeters deep.
Jeez. Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck that is. 6 inches, something. I don't know. Whatever. That's just for our Americans listening, because of course the Australians measured it in centimeters. Anyway.
The rest of the world measured it in centimeters.
Except for, like, I do know, like, when we don't say that we're however many centimeters tall here. I will say that. Like, for some things, I understand not the metric, the imperial system. That one. Yeah. Anyway. Back to the crime. So yeah, Anna Brown actually just returned to the house within moments, seeming confused and repeatedly asking what had happened, apparently.
Jeez.
Yeah, she kept saying she was too out of it to remember, and like saying like, what happened? What's happening? And what have I done? Or whatever.
You've just stabbed somebody?
Yeah. And the 911 operator was actually told at that point, yeah, the person who's done it has come back.
Oh my god. That'd be scary.
It is, but it's also kind of weird that, like, you're like, okay, you would know that was wrong. If you left, why did you come back?
Yeah. And they go, what did I do?
Exactly. Like, it makes you wonder if she was putting on a show, because she was very apparently unsteady on her feet, the cops noted when they arrived. But, like, no surprise when she brought that much alcohol.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was her. So, she was only tested for intoxication about 8.5 hours later after...
Oh my god.
Yeah, the arrest or whatever. And they did a urine test at that time, so not a blood test. But they did do a urine test. I don't know why. So then they apparently, like, tried to use that to calculate backwards as to what it probably was at the time of the party.
Oh my god. Should have just taken her blood, right, when you take her into custody.
Yeah, that didn't seem like a great part of it. And then one article I read said that it did come out later that she tested positive for some methamphetamine. So just add that to the cocktail of booze.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. She was obviously brought to trial. I mean, at least they had her, right?
Yeah.
So she was brought to trial in July of the following year, so 2017. And the prosecutor for the Crown emphasized that the victim and killer had known each other. They kept saying they were friends. But the one source I had that said that they were cousins was the podcast I listened to where they had her defense lawyer on. So I think they were cousins.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were the ones that call each other Cuzzy. Like, they liked each other. They got along normally. It was just like this crazy...
weird
day. Yeah. Bizarre. I don't know.
Like an episode of Jerry Springer. Like, what went on?
have some other facts or theories or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit. Okay. So, yeah, just another sad fact about it was that when she died, Carly was 36 and she had 2 young children. Yeah, that's
awful.
They obviously brought up at trial. Yeah, it's terrible. And Anna Brown's defense lawyer, Mary Dyerberg, I think it's pronounced, argued that a piece of evidence had been missed in the form of a white cup that Anna had been drinking from. This had been found on a windowsill in the bedroom where Brown had been having a long talk with another guest about, like, life, addiction, their past. You know, they were having a real heart-to-heart, so they found this cup there. The police photographed the cup thinking it looked a little bit out of place, because it was in the kids' room.
Yeah.
But apparently they emptied the contents after. So then Brown's lawyer argued that Brown said she had tasted something strange in the cup and that she thinks that she may have been drugged.
But I feel like people... What, drugged with meth in the cup?
Meth. I don't know, I guess, right?
I mean, it's like, I don't know how many drugs other than meth would make you stab somebody in the head.
Yeah, so this is the theory that they are presenting. Brown told her psychiatrist that she remembered... Oh, yeah, that she tasted something strange and then remembered very little after that point. And then she said that maybe someone had slipped her a sedative because she was being drunk and belligerent. That was her theory.
But, oh my god, sedatives don't... That's such a extreme reaction to getting a sedative. That's like the opposite of getting, like, of your reaction when you have a sedative. Because it's a sedative.
Plus another sedative? Yeah, I don't know if they're saying, like, what if it's, like, when you're, like, on antibiotics or whatever, and, like, you're not allowed to, like, drink, and then you do, and it just, like, really fucks it up. I don't know.
I feel like I feel like most drugs are to knock you unconscious or make you loopy. They aren't gonna make you extremely violent like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels a little flimsy to me.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I like to present, I guess, both sides of the case.
Yeah.
I mean, much like her lawyer had to here. Yeah. So that was, yeah, her lawyer argued that her behavior seemed to take a sharp turn in that time. And then other behavior that would appear to back that theory up was how she acted when she was in custody. She was, quote, agitated and acting in a psychotic way. And that was from, like, the officers on duty. That was their words.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean... Was she, or was she again putting on a show? I don't know. I guess she kept having seizure-like movements, and then she was calling out for her cousin, Carly. Like, "Cuzzy, help me," she kept saying.
Weird.
I'm sorry. Also, we have a friend named Carly, and then when I was writing these notes, I was like, ooh, this is going to be awful when we're talking about this.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Love you, Carly. Okay. But yeah, that was kind of weird, the behavior in custody. I guess she was talking to herself in the cell and, you know, just kind of almost schizophrenic, like, behavior.
Yeah, well, if she was using meth or had previously, her behavior probably wouldn't be that unrealistic, I guess.
Yeah, it could be.
Or
yeah,
going through withdrawal. I don't know what, like, meth withdrawal looks like, but...
Withdrawal, yeah. No, me neither. Thank God. So, after the arrest, Anna had told the police she had taken angel dust, which apparently they were then able to disprove because it's not available in New Zealand.
True.
Nice
Definitively.
So I don't know, that kind of adds to the evidence of well, we'll get to it. She's a liar.
She is a liar.
a liar.
I just keep thinking of, like, not only, like, the people around that, like, knew the girls out of, like, their friend group or whatever, but, like, that beautician just sitting there being like, I didn't sign up for this shit. They were arguing, and then some chick stabbed the other girl in the head, and I just got the hell out of there. Like,
I don't get paid enough for this.
Yeah, oh my god.
Jobs that you have to come do house calls, like you were talking about earlier, strippers that accidentally get killed.
That accidentally get killed by Scarlett Johansson.
We've all been there.
Yeah, that accidentally get killed by Scarlett Johansson. I think it's her that kills them. I can't remember. It's like,
did she suffocate him with her breasts? No.
It's something weird like that where it's like stupid.
Oh my god.
And they're like, we didn't mean to, or something. I don't.
Right, it's like a Final Destination death. You're like, how could that even? Oh. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I liked this line that the prosecutor said about her. He said, she was acting, quote, like a child whose hand is caught in the cookie jar with crumbs all over their face. It's like, I took angel dust, it wasn't my fault. It just seems like it's all over the place.
Caught your hand in the murder jar. I just wanted one murder. Like, please?
I picked that up to make some guacamole. No. Oh, I can't. I'm sorry. But let's cut that out. I am insensitive. Jesus. So yeah, she put on a show in the courtroom too. So when the 911 calls were played, she was weeping in the courtroom. But let's not forget that Carly was the victim, and her mother told the court Carly was a devoted, loving, kind mom to her boys. She was their mentor, protector, their everything. And then another quote from that was before she went on to say that Carly's sons now sleep with weapons beside their beds for fear of attack.
Okay, that's a little much. But yeah. I feel bad,
but that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Anna's criminal record was brought up. She had some previous offenses, including dishonesty offenses.
Dishonesty offenses?
Apparently.
Is that like...
That's why I said she's like a convicted liar.
Oh, gosh. Is that like lying under oath or something? Dishonesty.
I didn't look it up. I wonder. Or if it's like fraud or something like
I charge you with the liar, pants on fire.
Oh God, Liar, Liar is such a good movie. Remember what? Did I tell you I watched that with Rain? And then she went, oh, I know that line. I've heard that before. When he just tells his client to stop fucking breaking the law or whatever. That's his legal advice. Stop breaking the law, you idiot, or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, stop breaking the law, asshole. That's what he screams at him.
Yeah. I watched that for the first time like last year.
Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, you gotta watch that. It's a classic.
Yeah, it was good. I love Jim Carrey. He's like one of my favorites.
He's amazing. Yeah. He's Canadian, isn't he? He's our gem.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, she had some offenses. Did Miss Brown. Dishonesty offenses, intent to cause grievous bodily harm, and wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm over an incident involving a machete where she acted as the getaway driver.
Oh my God. That's intense.
Yeah, she's not very nice, I guess. She started young, too. Her first offense had been at age 14. And another fun fact-a-rooney, I guess, is the incident involving the machete had stemmed from an incident where Brown's children, like Anna Brown's children, were being scared by the people she then later attacked. So she was all mad and pissed that someone scared her kids and came back after them with a group of guys with a machete.
Oh, jeez.
And then that attack ended with a man's hand almost completely severed.
Oh my God.
Yet then she does this attack, this murder, at a friend's Pamper Party where there were children present.
Oh my God. Yeah.
She is fucked. And speaking of children, Anna Brown herself was a mother of 6
Of
at
6.
the time
Wow.
of, yes, her imprisonment. Oh yes, spoiler alert. She gets a life sentence with a minimum of 12 years imprisonment after a 3-week trial. Yay.
I feel like a life sentence shouldn't be followed up by a minimum of 12 years.
Doesn't that seem a little low?
Yeah, considering
Yeah.
her previous history too, like
Yeah, that's like her minimum, no parole allowed during that time.
yeah,
But yeah, I would feel like here it would have been like life would have
25 to
been
life.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 25 to life. That's what we usually have.
Mm.
But yeah, at least she's in jail. She's still in jail from everything I could find. I couldn't find that she'd been released or anything. I mean,
Yeah.
this was like 5 years ago now.
Hopefully they can figure out. It seems like something's going on in her life that she needs help with. I mean,
Yeah, no doubt, eh? And hopefully her kids have someone solid they are with.
yeah.
Yikes.
Oh, I feel bad for all the kids involved, like the witness at the party and her kids and
Yes.
everything. Oh.
Yeah. And the beautician.
And the beautician. She's
Good
like,
Lord.
I didn't come to work on a Sunday for this shit.
Right? They better have tipped her good.
Ugh, she probably only got around to doing like half the girl's nails. Ugh,
God.
like, Jesus.
Oh.
That's insane.
Oh, I know. So another weird thing, just to kind of end it out here, that story. Strangely, there was a few weeks after the crime, a fire that broke out at the crime scene, the Sinclair residence. Yeah, so apparently the house was vacant at that time, but there were several fires to be put out by the firefighters, and they suspected that accelerants were used, possibly
Yeah.
including fireworks.
Oh.
That sounds messy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that sounds like a Florida way to start a fire.
At least they didn't pour the accelerant back on themselves.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely
Florida
if they're
man.
putting out several points of fire within one house, yeah.
Points of origin.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what they call it. And so, yeah, that's kind of just another little mystery to that one because they took evidence at that time, but it's just being kept on file for further investigation that's not really resolved to my satisfaction, unfortunately. And that is that case. I just have a little bit more horribleness
Oh.
to share with you
What,
about
what
another
more horribleness
Yeah.
could there be?
another evil example of a Pamper Party gone wrong.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, why? No. I don't know. Maybe I was looking for stuff. Sometimes you don't know how long your case is going to be. So, but have you ever heard of Peter Nygaard? Or seen any clothing, perhaps, that says Nygaard on it?
It sounds familiar.
It sounded familiar to me too, and I think I had some pants that were Nygaard, because we used to get that friggin' Sears the Bay gift card, remember, for our Christmas bonus,
Yeah.
and I would shop in there. So Peter Nygaard is a Finnish-Canadian fashion executive. This is from Wikipedia. And in 1967, he founded Nygaard International, a Winnipeg-based company that made women's apparel. But then, in 2020, Nygaard was accused of sex trafficking, rape, and racketeering after the Federal Bureau of Investigation raided his company's offices in New York City.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, he had some pamper parties that were disgusting.
Oh god.
Is what I have here. Because, if just one bad pamper party wasn't enough for you guys, I thought I'd tack this on for you. So this is about Nygaard's friend, Daniel Fitzgerald. He's apparently being sued by 3 women who claim they were forced to have sex with him at Nygaard's Pamper parties.
Mm.
So there's Jane Doe's 1, 2, and 3, and they stated that they were to have sex with Fitzgerald, who would then bring a woman for Nygaard to have sex with in return. Very Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Like, not happy about it, and that this guy is Canadian, Finnish, whatever.
Yeah. Boo.
Yeah. So, yeah, he just was a gross guy. He used this guy that's being sued used his association with the famous fashion executive to bolster his own business. And the lawsuit says that Fitzgerald traveled on the Nygaard company's corporate jet to South America, the Caribbean, and New York for the purpose of furthering and participating in the sex trafficking venture. Really, these pamper parties are just getting a real bad rap in my research. And yeah, obviously there's just a whole lot of this crappy, sexual assault kind of allegations coming up in the news everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a little bit gross. And other than that, I have what I wanted to have at my pamper party, because I would have a nice one with no murder and no rape.
Oh, that's good.
I was like, what would I have at a pamper party? Basically kind of reads like a bachelorette party. I'm like, we could have Mexican food, pina coladas,
yes.
maybe a massage therapist.
Yes.
I liked the kind of, having someone there to pamper you idea.
Mm-hmm.
We could have some true crime or some horror movies, just playing in the background.
Yeah.
And some board games. Like, I love board games, Cards Against Humanity, Mad Gab. Oh, all those fun ones.
Oh, very good, yes.
And finally, top it all off with my resident favorite DJ Skog, aka Pat.
Yep.
And then we could have dancing, and we'd rent a box of puppies and have some jacuzzi time.
Ooh, yes.
How does that sound?
That sounds wonderful.
All right. Let's do it. For
Friday.
Our next Patreon special.
Next Friday. No. Next Saturday. 1 week from today. You better have all that ready.
Oh, God. Better get on that box of puppies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will be thoroughly sad if I don't pull up to your house a week from today and there isn't or 1 day after this episode airs and there isn't a box of puppies.
Were you there that day? Remember when, because our office was next to that PetSmart that we used to work at. One day they brought over some of the puppies. Literally just, I think they wanted some puppy pettings. They were bored and they had puppies that needed it. I don't know. I just remember they came over. It was sort of like they would sometimes come over from that Starbucks down the way and just bring us free samples if they were like bored.
Because they wanted you to pet puppies, not sample a new Starbucks.
I know! I preferred the puppies, honestly.
Yeah. Oh.
It was better than any Starbucks sampler or like Hooters friggin' coupon they came around with.
Yeah.
Oh, puppy parties.
Yes. Oh, so cute. All the puppies. All right.
Wow. Oh, anyway, I just had to end that on a little bit of a better note, but yeah.
But Whoopi, your case was crazy.
Crazy.
And we'll be back for more craziness after this quick break.
Right? Buckle in.
Yeah.
Let's get yourself a snack.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rough.
We're gonna do some refills.
Oh, yes. Good idea.
Yep.
All right. That tea is really hitting you.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I chronically yawn. It doesn't matter what time of day or what I'm drinking. I'm always yawning.
Just gonna get me some of that air.
Yeah. Oh, God. You think I'd have the worst lung function ever. The amount I yawn.
Your brain loves that good oxygen.
Yeah. Oh.
Yummy, yummy, yum.
No.
Welcome back, y'all. We are huffing air. Yawning.
Yeah.
Because it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday, and what, the Piano Man, isn't that a Piano Man lyric? You got us feeling alright.
I have no idea. And
come on.
I even analyzed Piano Man in high school for like an English project. I don't remember.
I like that song. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, we're old. Shut up. Okay. Apparently.
So very, very old. Yeah.
It's bloody hard to keep awake when the sun hardly comes out and you want to hibernate because there's 10 feet of snow outside.
It's like minus 35.
It's been minus 35 for like 3 weeks, it feels like. It definitely since Christmas we've had this bloody cold snap.
Yeah.
And yeah, minus 35 for y'all Americans.
Is
Apparently
still
it's
almost minus 40.
It is, yeah. We would still be like in the minus 20s there, so it's fucking cold here, and
yeah.
No, it doesn't always get this cold in this part of Canada, but when it does, Jesus Christ.
And not normally for like this long. Normally it's only for like a day, maybe 2 at most. This is like literally, we had one day where it was like minus 12, and then it immediately went back to like minus 35 again.
It's like, just kidding.
Yeah, you thought it was warming up. Mm-hmm.
No, it's gonna be hell on earth.
Yeah, it's January. What did you expect?
Oh, Lord. I don't know. We have been taking extra literal vitamin D this year and stuff. It's like...
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I keep telling everybody that we haven't seen our solar panels in like a month because of the fucking snow. Anyway. Yay! We're thriving. It's 2022. What can we say?
Exactly.
No, it's supposed to warm up in a couple days, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. It is, like, I think your sinuses get affected when it's, like, cold out. Because it, like, I think it makes your nose run more to protect it or something.
And it's always made it harder for me to breathe. They'll tell you that, especially as an asthmatic, that, like, the cold weather will set it off more. And, when I tried to walk the dog the other day, because Pat had his appointment or something, and Akitas really like to go on their schedule. You walk him at 10:30, 11 every day. He expects a walk at about 10:30 or 11 every day. He doesn't care that it's minus fucking 30. They're like huskies. They're so fluffy.
He's big and he's so furry.
But he was not even staying out very long outside for his pee breaks. So it has been almost a little too cold for him too.
Aw. He's a little tender now. He's not.
Oh, Fenrir.
He's not hardy no more.
Oh no. Yeah, you can't sit on that snow so long. A little bumhole will freeze because he's got that curly tail, so he'll just sit right on there.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry, what was I saying? That was a tangent.
Dog butts.
Oh, no, you were blowing your nose, so it was fine.
Yep.
We were talking apropos of nothing.
And then it became dog butts somehow.
It's always dog butts.
It's always dog butts.
Dog butts all the way down.
Corgi butts are great butts. Are great dog butts.
Oh, so cute. Little sploot. There's this website thing that you can upload your animals. It's like Pup Vote, and you can put your puppies and maybe cats, I'm not sure, and then like people can vote on your animals' pictures, and then I think if you win the contest, you can win a little bit of money.
That's cool.
Yeah. I was like, yes. Putting up that picture that Kelsey took with the little Santa hat.
Yeah, that's pretty cute.
It is. A bunch of people commented on it already.
Aw, that's good. I was like, Fenrir, look here. No, don't play with the hat. No, you don't even know the hat's on you. Just look over here. And I kept snapping at him.
And then didn't his attitude change once you had food in your hand? He's like, then he'll do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that
He
would better
immediately starts doing everything he
treat.
thinks you want. Yeah. He jumps up, he lays down, he's like, what do you want? What do you want? I'll do it.
What do you want from me? All the things. I'll do all the things right now.
Oh yeah, frequently I'll tell him to sit and he just gets so excited he just lays right down and I'm like, okay, good enough. You'll do me one better, I guess.
He's just skipping a step. He's jumping ahead.
He's like, will I get two if I do this? Sit down. I can lie down.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, so for my case, for New Zealand, I chose one when we were going through cases. I know you may have read a little bit about it because you said it sounded familiar, or you had.
Yes, had come across the name while also looking for a case. And I was like, yeah, that sounds interesting, even though I didn't read very much.
Oh, okay, perfect. Because it is interesting, and hopefully there isn't very much overall. But it is just kind of bizarre altogether. So this is a case revolving around Elizabeth or Betty Benning.
Betty!
Yeah.
Love it. Cute name.
So in September of 1977, in Karori, Wellington, New Zealand.
Ooh, Wellington.
Yeah.
Like the boots. No, those are British.
Police visited the home of Alfred, age 65, and his wife, Elizabeth, or Betty Benning, age 63, while they were actually investigating Betty's supposed disappearance.
Oh,
Yeah.
supposed disappearance. Okay.
So, at this point, Betty and Alfred had become, like, estranged in their relationship, but they were still living in the same house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're separated, like, they're not together
Yeah,
anymore.
they're, like, as not together as two people could possibly be.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So the pair had been married 20 years earlier in 1957, and both of them had been married, I think, once before each. And it was...
Okay.
Yeah, it was said that their relationship was good at first, but it soured pretty quickly. And within, like... Yeah, it soured, like, within a couple years of this, like, 20-year marriage.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where, like, people don't get divorced because they, like, don't believe in divorce or, like,
Yeah.
society or whatever. It's like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You're miserable.
Yeah. So Alfred even went as far as to say that they didn't really know very much about each other when they got married, and that he somehow, I don't know, didn't even know Betty's married name, like maiden name, or much anything like about her past. So
Okay.
it was like, maybe you should have covered that before you got married.
Was it just sex, you guys? There was no talking. Jesus.
Yeah. In a police statement, on like the flip side, in a police statement, Alfred said, quote, "All I can say is that you would not meet a better woman, always nice and always kept the house nice." Okay.
Oh, that's all they're good for.
Yeah.
That house nice.
Keep that house nice.
We keep. Sorry, my default accent is a southern. Always. I realize we're in New Zealand, guys. I know.
So after a few years, it's reported that they like basically stopped speaking. They didn't even talk to each other. And that they had moved at this point into like separate rooms. In a podcast I listened to, it went as far as to say that they had, like, pretty much divided the house and might as well have, like, drew lines on the floor. Like, they had
No.
they had separate things about, like, what times you were allowed to go in the kitchen and what times you could watch TV or do laundry or anything, so that they would never, like, physically never see each other be in the same room.
It's a real lot of effort
Yeah.
to not see someone.
Pretty intense.
It is, and like, yeah, I can tell you from experience that it is very difficult to ignore someone you're living in a house with, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's like, why were they bothering? They don't have
Right?
children, from the
No.
sounds of it, and at that
Not
point,
that
that
I
would be good for
found
the
or
children
anything like
anyway.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then,
Okay.
and two, both of them had been married before and clearly divorced or got out of the situation, so, like, why didn't you just do that again? You know?
Right? Like, you're not like, who the fuck, Henry VIII or whoever had to leave the religion because there was no divorce.
Yeah, no.
Like, figure it out.
And it's reported that 6 months before Betty's disappearance, her lawyer had actually sent letters, I don't know how many of them, to Alfred, specifically asking for, like, more money. I guess she had, like, a weekly allowance. So she was asking Alfred for more money as well as joint ownership of the house.
Damn.
Yeah.
So she's having to fight for her, like, possessions and position.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
And so when police were kind of investigating Betty's disappearance, they noticed that while talking about Betty, Alfred was consistently referring to her in the past tense. And so not great.
Oh, I just rolled my eyes so hard.
Yeah. And
What's his name again? Sorry?
Alfred.
Oh, yeah. Not a good look, Alfred. No. You're a dumbass.
No, he really is a dumbass. He's so stupid.
Oh my god, Al. Come on, yeah. Al.
So Alfred had also told family friends that Betty had flown to Canada to help her sister, who had recently been involved in, like, some sort of serious accident.
And what?
Yeah, so, like, this
he
was
told
Alfred.
Her friends that.
Yeah. But Betty's friends remembered a few weeks before this, when Betty herself had told them that she thought Alfred was, quote, up to something, and that they might not see her again.
Oh my god. Ladies. Yeah. Does anyone need to be told that if they find themselves saying that it's time to get out?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, not that you can always just get out if it's, like, abusive, but it's like, they don't even talk. Why are they even bothering?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes no sense.
It's like, literally pack a bag and go to your friend's, like, freaking couch if you think this person's gonna murder you. Like,
I know, you would call it being lazy, because you're like, oh, you're just too lazy to, like, get up and actually separate and go through all the things it would take. But then you're like, but it's taking so much effort to do what you're doing.
Right? Yeah. So Alfred was kind of unusual, I guess. I don't know. It's a legitimate job. So it's just weird that this is what he did for work. He was a retired SPCA, it said inspector. So part of his job with, like, animals was he was required to euthanize animals, and for some reason was required to do this in the basement of the house.
Yeah. What? That's not what I expected his job duties would be if he was supposed to be the inspector. I thought he would be inspecting the facilities.
Right? That's what I thought too.
And if anyone doesn't know what that is here, it's like the animal,
like, rescue
shelter
kind of
place.
Yeah.
I forget what it stands for, but we used to go there and, like, walk the dogs when I was a kid. Yeah, you could go and adopt there.
So it sounds like he was kind of responsible for going around and collecting strays and stuff that needed to be euthanized for whatever reason. I just find it weird that he did this in his house.
Yeah. That does seem weird. weird.
That's why I'm like, it's a legitimate
that.
job, I guess, but it's weird that this is his job. According to Betty, and she had told her friends about this, that Alfred, for part of the job, I don't know how much he used it, had built some sort of like gas chamber in the basement of the house, and she had told her friends that she was worried he might one day put her in it.
I mean, and these are the reasons why these things aren't done at home.
Yeah. Right?
You're like, oh yeah, I can just easily,
I feel like
get rid of cadavers here and then taxidermy a whole animal too. It's just a great little
I feel like just like
business.
What must your house smell like? Just to have rescues and euthanizing animals in the basement. Ugh.
And then what? Carrying them back to a facility to have them cremate? Like what?
No.
That doesn't make sense.
Good thing you mentioned perfect you mentioned that. So on September 13th, Alfred had asked his neighbor, who was a crematorium manager. It was like a legit business crematorium.
Okay.
That was like, I think city or state run or something. And his name was Jesse Earp. And Alfred had asked if he could use the crematorium's like wheelbarrow for an undisclosed reason. And Jesse Earp, the manager of the crematorium, declined to give like company property, the wheelbarrow, to him, but instead offered like his own up for personal use if Alfred wanted that one. But Alfred replied that one was too small for what he needed it for. So.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. Too cheap to go buy one, so you're just going to advertise to the whole neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. And then 10 days later, on September 23rd, police visited Alfred at the house again, looking into Betty's disappearance, and found him working on an outdoor incinerator. I assume that he used for the euthanizing of animals. But again, it's on their, like, physical property. Like, it's gross.
Right? Don't you have to have a permit for that? You must nowadays.
Yeah. I'm
like, when was this? Oh,
this was the 70s. Yeah. I feel like it's too recent. Like, I feel like, yeah.
Right?
I feel like even in the 70s, having, like, a gas chamber in your basement and an outdoor incinerator in your backyard would be kind of weird.
It's at least bad for the neighborhood property values.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So, yeah, on September 23rd, police go and visit Alfred at the home and are asking him about Betty again and find him working on this outdoor incinerator. And they try and approach it, but he tells the police to stay away from it because the ground was very muddy. Don't want to get muddy, I guess.
Right. Okay, then.
Yeah.
Whoops, sorry to bother you. No. What?
God forbid you step in mud. So, I don't know if it's at this time, but police were searching the house. I don't know if it's the same day as this. And they actually found some books on Alfred's nightstand. And can you guess what these books were about? Just take a wild guess. You'll probably be right.
Murder? No.
Yeah, like literally.
Oh, God.
Reportedly from the podcast I listened to, they said 5 out of the 7 books on his nightstand explicitly were like how to get away with murder, how to murder your spouse, how to, like, all these things, and there was like notes in the margin, and he had like dog-eared pages and like underlined and highlighted things.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sir. Like they came from the library this way. Oh, it's like oh yeah. My god, you might as well be reading Murder for Dummies. Mm-hmm. And your bookmark is your knife.
Yeah, covered in blood. with a label on it saying, "This is the knife I murdered her with." No.
Your bookmark is a literal smoking gun.
Yeah, so then they start searching the property, and they notice a freshly dug like freshly dug like soil that's near an apple tree in the couple's backyard, and they start inspecting it. And
God, he was just planting some more apples.
yeah. So they start digging inside this, or I guess around this apple tree, and they find Betty's body. Yeah. So
No surprise, though.
no. Alfred had cut her into 6 pieces and wrapped her up in newspaper, so like Dexter style.
But he had the incinerator on his property.
Yeah, that's the weird thing.
Oh my God. You can't write this. You can't make this shit up.
I know. Yeah, it plays into later on in the court. They're like, literally, if he was trying to get away with it, he did everything wrong. You're like,
He read all the books, underlined everything, and then just said, fuck it. We'll see what happens. I don't
Right?
trust my gut. I'm pretty smart.
yeah. So, yeah, police are searching. They find her body. And they also find a denture plate and then metal corset fittings. I don't know what those are. Like,
Like the parts of the corset that's hard and gives its shape, but like fittings. I haven't heard it called that way.
yeah,
no.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know what the fittings are. So those were actually found when the police searched the incinerator on the property. So I mean, he used the incinerator for some stuff, but not for her actual body.
What?
Yeah.
What the hell, buddy?
So Alfred was arrested for the murder and as well charged for like dismembering her body. And
Okay.
yeah, so this is where it gets really weird. Alfred has like just the most bizarre like timeline of events of what he says happened, and then it just gets stupider from there of like, yeah. I wish I could have like found a lot more information on this, but literally the exact same things were said just in every single source I looked at, just over and over and over again.
Yeah. I did try and look and see if metal corset quote-unquote fittings were a thing.
Yeah.
And not that I can find. They might just be referring to the clasps if they have the little clasp hook things.
Maybe.
But also, there are some hot corsets that I need right now. Damn. Those different colors. Okay, anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, so Alfred was claiming that this was all in self-defense. I chopped up my wife in self-defense.
Oh my God.
So he said
Seriously, buddy.
he said that Betty was acting suicidal on September the 12th, and for some reason in her suicidal whatever was going on,
Delusions.
yeah, she ran into it says the lounge, so again probably like a living room.
Oh my God, they always call it the lounge. Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know this was a thing.
I didn't know either, so that's funny. Yeah, so she ran into the lounge that night carrying a carving knife in her hand, and Alfred...
Again with the knife!
Yeah. Alfred said that for some reason, I don't know, maybe she tried to attack him in her trying to commit suicide. She attacked him, and he ended up, in self-defense, having to kick her in the stomach and then strangle her with some sort of cord.
Completely logical set of events.
Yeah. It's super
Also,
awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I got stuck on another thing that it isn't logical. It's not logical that we call it a living room here.
No.
You live in every room of your house. A lounge actually makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But
A
does make me
bonus
think of a
room.
bar. Yeah, a bonus room. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Stupid names for things. Part 1. Okay.
This is the sitting room.
Oh, the parlor. It's the parlor. And why do we have to have a living room and a den and a family room? Oh my Okay.
There's
Go
just
home,
fancy
brain.
ways of saying, like, this one has a TV and this one doesn't.
Ugh, they should all have TVs. No.
Um,
Everything in Vegas has a TV. All the mirrors in the fancy hotels have
oh my
TVs.
god. That's
In
too
all
much.
Okay, well, not everyone, but like we saw some fancy ass suites that had like mirrors or TVs in the mirrors in the bathroom.
Yeah, I've heard of that before. I've never stayed anywhere with it, but I've heard of it.
It is a little much considering we all have our phones now and they're all smartphones these days, and it's essentially a TV anywhere we want it, including on the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I already carry my laptop everywhere. I don't also need a TV on everything.
You're like, I literally have one in front of
Yeah.
me.
Mine's portable. I have a portable TV. It weighs 2 pounds and it's called a laptop. Like,
I was rereading a book the other day that was essentially a diary from like the year 2005, 2006, and like they were like, and then he could carry it with him because he had internet for his cell phone on his Sprint card, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this was like 15 years ago, and it sounds like it's from another planet.
yeah.
Technology.
That's crazy.
I'm so sorry. Carry on.
Okay, so the next is... Oh, these are a few quotes from Alfred. Yeah. So it says, I just got a bloody
wait.
shock when I saw she was finished. Great way to say that I murdered her. I just got that much of a shock. I was just walking around and collapsed in a chair. End quote. He said this the next morning he set to work trying to get rid of any evidence as well as the body. Quote, seeing that I was not strong enough to lift the body, I dragged it from the bedroom out into the laundry and cut it up with a meat chopper.
Oh my god, how quickly she became the body.
Yeah.
My god, do you think he was thinking about this for years beforehand?
We'll get to it. There's some stuff in the podcast I listened to that I don't know. I kind of could go either way on that.
Yeah.
So Alfred then cleaned up the laundry room, and then when police were searching it, they did actually find traces of Betty's blood, like on the floorboards that were underneath the linoleum floor in the laundry room. So I guess he did a decent job cleaning up the laundry room.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Surprising.
Yeah. So this was his lawyer, as you kind of mentioned. And we were talking about that, quote, if he carefully planned this, he did a very bad job. I love this, that this is his lawyer's defense. Surely if you had got an interest in this subject, if you're planning a murder, would you really bury the wife in the backyard? Anybody would know that this would be the first place the police would go to search, with a freshly planted apple tree to mark the spot. End quote. Your
His
Honor.
defense is like, nobody could be this stupid.
Yeah, Your Honor. The defense is so stupid. How stupid is he? He is so stupid.
Oh my god. That kind of reminds me. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Did you see the Dr. Death yet, or listen to that podcast though?
No.
We did watch it recently,
Good.
and it was good. It was good. Yeah, I watched the show on Prime or something with Pat, and kind of laughed because I had been watching The Fringe too, and then I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize this had Joshua Jackson too, and Pat like isn't a huge fan of his, so he kind of rolled his eyes and was like, yeah, it is, but it was pretty good considering all the hype I had heard about it being good. It was, but yeah, it just kind of made me think of the courtroom scene they have when they're eventually trying the guy. No real big spoiler alert there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's called Dr. Death.
Yeah, they figured it out eventually and tried. But yeah, they're like something to do with the defense case. Like he doesn't. even want to disparage his own reputation, even then when he's on trial, because that's all he has, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so stupid. Well, it's not stupid, but you know,
Yeah.
Killer's reasonings are stupid.
I can murder people, but how dare you say I murdered people?
Or that I'm a bad doctor. Yeah, exactly. That guy had issues for fucking sure.
Yeah, I
No,
definitely
it's
want to
good.
watch that one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so his lawyer was also saying, and pleading with the jury to ignore the library books that the police had found on Alfred's bedside. Again, 5 out of 7 of which were about homicide. And, you know, during the trial, the detectives also revealed that Alfred had attempted to empty the couple's bank account after Betty disappeared. And
Empty. Okay.
he had attempted to. I don't think he was successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wish I could have found a little bit more about this. It was mentioned in like a couple of the sources. So they did say that he was maybe attempting to empty the bank account because he spent the 11 days in between Betty's murder and until he was arrested, apparently entertaining sex workers, like, at the house.
Oh my god, he had himself a little party.
Yeah.
He had a little pamper party. Connection!
Oh, snap. And his too went bad, no.
Oh, he invited over a little harem. He was like,
Yeah.
oh, don't I get this reward now? Oh my god. Wow.
So the sex workers he was inviting over, he reportedly had met at a notorious local cafe that at the time, based on the podcast I was listening to and information I looked up after, it was likely called the Purple Onion. And
Oh, that is a common name for a bar. I think we
Yeah.
had one of those back home in Fredericton.
yeah, this one might be a little different.
No, is there one called that here in Edmonton? Purple
I have
onion or the red
no
onion?
idea.
Damn, I feel like I've been to a purple onion.
I don't know.
Okay.
But this one in
All
New
right.
Zealand in the 70s was known spot for people who were cross-dressing and also involved in sex work.
Okay.
And he reportedly even hired one of the possibly cross-dressing, but definitely a sex worker, to be his housekeeper. And, like, in this 11-day period, he hires this person to be his housekeeper. And this individual then noticed kind of weird behavior he had around the house and ended up calling the police on him, being like, dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Also, update, there is a Purple Onion bar in Edmonton. That is where I went to
Okay.
it here. That's funny.
Weird. I wonder
Next
if it's
outing.
like homage to this at all. Because it has like an interesting thing. I have a bit about it at the end.
Oh my god, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I didn't include it in my notes, but in looking it up, I did run across the name of the housekeeper and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a bunch. They were involved as being like a witness in something and some other crimes, and it was like a whole thing. So,
Oh.
yeah, they kind of seemed like they had a really, really rough life. So, but
Wow. And then they turned this guy in,
yeah.
is what you're saying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So after 3 hours of deliberation, Alfred Benning was found guilty of murder and jailed for life. And
Thank God.
yeah, in the one source I was looking at, and I think maybe in the podcast too, they said that the police arrested him and his neighbor. I don't know if this is the neighbor Jesse that like refused to give him his wheelbarrow, or how a neighbor got dragged into it. I honestly don't know. It didn't say the neighbor's name. But
Weird.
yeah, But, like, in a weird twist of this, actually, the police that arrested Alfred all actually really liked Alfred.
Okay.
Yeah.
They knew him then?
No, they were fond of him, like, as a murderer. I don't know how else to describe.
Okay. They were
Yeah.
like, well, as far as murderers go, you're
Yeah, basically.
one of the least violent we've seen. I don't know.
They said,
not even.
yeah, they said, quote, "For me it was a matter of just trying to play the humanity of the guy, the little guy who was out of his depth most of the time. Not a hell of a lot different than many, or not a hell of a lot different to many of us. Except many of us don't murder our wives."
No, and he said he was playing a guy, like as if he's
Trying to play the humanity of the guy. So maybe like trying to focus on the humanity of him. I don't know, like.
Or he's more manipulative than he seems. Because that was Alfred's saying that, right?
No, that was the police saying that about Alfred.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So part of the stuff that I got the information from was actually a podcast I listened to, because this case inspired a like black comedy style movie called How to Murder Your Wife, that was released.
How to Murder Your Wife.
Yeah, it was released in 2015, and the podcast I listened to, for some of the information, it was like half an hour long. It talked to one of the producers of the movie.
Oh, cool. That's like how I would listen to the one with the defense lawyer, and I was like, oh, that was a different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, yeah, they kind of have a weird take on it, and because I couldn't get a lot of information about the case, it's hard to like back up, because they'd be like, yeah, in our research we did this, and it was like just something totally like left field that wasn't even talked about in anything else.
Okay.
But they did say that they talked to some of the investigators in the case that like actually had like knew Alfred, at least from like when he was arrested and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so, but their movie is so different to, like, how I've pretty much just explained the case. The film synopsis on the website pretty much says that the film follows a passive-aggressive man, played by Simon O'Connor, who's spiraling towards psychosis as his emotionally abusive wife, Geraldine Brophy, threatens to cast his beloved dog out of the house.
Sorry, a demon just came out of my throat. What? That's...
Yeah, so they say
his wife, they're like... What did they say about her? His crazy
it says
wife?
the film follows a passive-aggressive man spiraling towards psychosis as his emotionally abusive wife threatens to cast his beloved dog out of the house.
Okay, then.
Which is, like, absolutely nothing that I ran across at all.
That's their artistic take on it.
No, they, like, say that this is, like, legit what happened. In the podcast I listened to, the movie producers say that Alfred planned Betty's murder for 5 years before it happened, and that Alfred killed Betty because, she did not like the dog that he had recently rescued, and he refused to get rid of it. And they say that Betty was a self-righteous churchgoer, and that she was really, like, headstrong and everything like that, and that Alfred was just a meek and passive and gentle little man. They literally said gentle little man.
Oh my god, they are really drinking the Alfred Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And they said, or in the podcast, the producer of this movie said, because I couldn't find any research about it, that Alfred was in prison. And while he was in prison, he became the prison librarian. And at some point, they didn't say what year, and I didn't find it in anything. I tried Googling it. They said he was released early due to failing health at some point. So I tried to Google it. I couldn't even find out if he was still alive or not. Yeah.
My God. I don't understand the movies that get made based on true stories.
And the weird thing is I found one picture of Alfred. It's the same picture. He's literally standing there. He is like a tall, like, just twig of a man. And he's holding like two, I think, like caged dogs or something, because he worked at the SPCA. I think it was like an SPCA photo from like a newspaper or something. But I actually couldn't find a single picture of Betty. All I could find was pictures of the actors from the movie. I couldn't find a single picture of Betty. Like...
Isn't that sad?
Yeah. I really tried. All I came across was like all these pictures from the movie and the cast, and then this one picture of Alfred. I couldn't find a single picture of anything else.
Oh. Yeah, that sucks, because, like, I'll have the same problem for the Instagram then. I don't want to just put a picture of him, but maybe I could put one of the movie or something.
Yeah.
Poor Betty. You'd think she would have one with her obituary or something.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything for her. And there wasn't anything in any of the articles. It was only ever a picture of him or the pictures from the movie.
Lame.
Yeah.
If I find one, I will put it on our socials.
So the podcast I listened to, there's a bunch of links to it. The one I used was the rnz.co.nz, which is the Crimes New Zealand, the murder of Betty Benning. And
okay. I was going to say most of my articles seem to have the same, or from like the same website, I think.
And then, so I had mentioned this, I guess, little, like, I tried looking it up. Cross-dressing, I guess, at the moment, I guess, is the preferred term. This little, like, club that he supposedly found these sex workers at. So I looked it up because it said it was a notorious club. And I was like, okay, let's find out more about that, because I don't have very much. So
we think the same way.
Yeah. This Purple Onion, they actually said that in the podcast. Because it was actually after the Purple Onion, it was called Carmen's International Coffee Lounge.
Okay.
They rebranded. So it was run by actually New Zealand's first drag queen, which is kind of cool.
No way.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And
hey,
so
girl.
she was a trans woman. And her name was Carmen Rupe. And she was also simply known as, like, Carmen. She's actually very, very famous in, like, New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking when you said Carmen all of a sudden of Carmen Miranda. I think she's the one with, like, the fruit hat, like, with the bananas. Like...
Oh, yeah. Not her. So Carmen, was New Zealand's first drag queen and, like, performer. And she was also a brothel keeper, an anti-discrimination activist, a would-be politician, and an HIV and AIDS activist.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so she was born on October 10th of 1936 and passed away on December 14th of 2011.
Oh, wow.
There's, like, I read kind of just skimmed, like, the Wikipedia. There's a lot, like, going on of, like, different stuff that she did, that she was part of, like, different acts that were put in New Zealand and everything for, like, rights and everything like that. But there was also a lot of, like, kind of negative stuff with, like, the brothel keeping and, like, having sex workers and stuff like that.
Of course.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, she ran Carmen's International Coffee Lounge, which was, at at the time was called The Purple Onion, so that's the one that they kind of alluded that Alfred, like, went there on a regular basis. So maybe he was hiding, like, some sort of secret, like, double life of either cross-dressing or possibly being gay or who knows.
Okay. That was their speculation.
Yeah. And so Carmen also ran a place called the Balcony Strip Club.
Oh. Also sounds like a good time.
But she is pretty beloved in New Zealand. So her silhouette actually is used as, like on our crosswalks, it's basically like green with that little like white little walking man.
Mm-hmm.
So in New Zealand, there's actually 4 walking signals that use her silhouette. Yeah. In New Zealand, there's 4 pedestrian crosswalks on Cuba Street in Wellington, and they were actually installed in August of 2016 to mark the 30th anniversary of the Homosexual Law Reform Act. I tried to look to see if that was mentioned anywhere else on her Wikipedia, to see if maybe she was, like, involved in that act being passed or something, but it wasn't really mentioned. Yeah, but that was, like, a little bit about her, because I was just wondering, why did they say it was, like, oh yeah, he met, like, this sex worker and hired them to be his, like, housekeeper out of this notorious, like, cross-dressing coffee shop, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I was like, that's a weird sentence.
Well, I know, after the description and stuff, yeah, it's a good thing you mentioned that again, because I keep forgetting that it's a coffee shop, even though you said coffee lounge, because I was like, that's a long name. I'm writing down the acronym, International Coffee Lounge, Carmen's, whatever. Yeah, I'm like, that's really long, but it doesn't make a cool acronym, so it's weird.
No. Yeah, but at some point it was called the Purple Onion.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and it was like
it all
a little
comes
cafe.
back to the Purple Onion, all the layers.
But yeah,
wow,
it's kind of cool. But yeah, that's really all I could find about the case. I went through like a bunch of different things, and it was like the same few paragraphs about like Alfred, and nothing that I could back up about him planning it for 5 years, or this being about a dog, or anything other than people talking about the movie, and that was what happened in the movie, and that's what the producers said happened. But again, the producer said that they talked to multiple police that were involved in the case. So
weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I always take the movies with a grain of salt, but seems completely off the mark.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, and then like his emotionally abusive wife and threatening his dog, and I can't remember what they said the name of the dog was, and they even asked, like the person interviewing the producer even asked, well, what happened to the dog at the end? And they're like, I think somebody, like a coworker at the SPCA, like took the dog in or something.
Aww.
And I was like, okay.
No, did he write the movie? Because that would explain a lot.
No. He was busy being like a librarian or whatever. So stupid.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Weird.
I'm like, I have no idea on this one. But
no,
why they didn't just get a divorce? I thought it was going to be
crazy. I mean, it is crazy, but at the same time, it does seem like they fluffed it up for the movie or whatever. Cause you're like, no, that's
I'm like, why this couple just didn't get a divorce, or like, I have no idea. Like,
seriously.
Sounds like they lived together for almost 20 whole years just loathing each other.
My god, life's too short. That's so petty.
Awful.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, I've heard things that say if you stay together after the pandemic, you should get like a medal or something. And then I was thinking the other day, you should get free COVID couples counseling. You probably need it.
Yeah. It's like they say, like, having the first kid or, like, getting married, like, planning a wedding. It's all the, like, super, super stressful, like, just brings out the bickery things in people.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's tough, but this keeps me going.
Yeah. Yeah, friends can be an escape. You need lots of friends.
Oh, man, yes. Friends have always been my free therapy. You just get them to listen.
Yeah, that's all you need sometimes.
Oops, I squeaked.
Oh no.
Well, no, you were so good, chair. Well, next week we've got some Hollywood curses coming at you guys.
Yeah. Yay. I think it'll be kind of cool.
There's a lot, as we've discovered, just trying to pick one.
Yeah, I wanted to go with one I didn't know much about, because there's a
that
number
can be
of
fun.
Yeah, a lot of like the other movie ones and stuff I've kind of heard over the years and other podcasts have done, so.
Exactly. And so I think that I'm like that too, where I'm like, yeah, I've heard of that. So then probably a lot of people have. So maybe something different.
Yeah, like a couple ones. Yeah.
Yes, I'm very excited for that one. And it's going to be good. So we'll see you then.
Yeah, in the meantime, you can leave us reviews and ratings wherever you can. We really appreciate it.
It's very exciting when you get ratings on the ones that rank you.
Yeah. Like,
we just got ranked number 24 in the top indie true crime chart today.
Yeah.
That one,
in the top, 100 were number, what did you say?
Well, today we got up to 24.
24. That's insane, you guys.
Yes. And that's even with the 2-star rating I berated my brother about. You ruined our perfect 5-star streak. Go give us a good 5-star rating on Good Pods right now, you guys.
If he changes it, it will be go to number 2.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it is kind of a random assortment of pods on there, but that's okay. But anyway, yeah. We hope to see you next week.
Yes, thanks for listening.
And keep it cryptic.
Right, bye.
Bye.
This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.